This is America News Central, sponsored by the GOP, with your news anchor Patrick Ron Burgundy Guzhev, with Alex the Assistant Crouch, featuring our new Russian correspondent Raskolnikov, and our European correspondent Ali Mania, and last but not least our creepy camera guy.
Welcome back to America News Central, sponsored by the GOP. We are bringing in 1945 with a retrospective look at 1944. 1944 was a very important year. Normandy, Operation Overlord, D-Day, many things happened. Before we left, we were covering the siege of Leningrad, and how it's finally over. After 900 grueling, absolutely boring days of siege, it is over. We cut to our Russian correspondent on scene for more.
Duh! After the siege of Leningrad ended on January 27th, the Allied forces began a massive
strategic displacement of the German populace using high explosive, per se, ordnance dropped by what may or may not be United States aircraft.
Correct. Campaign of Germany. We now cut to our news footage of the strategic displacement of German populace by high explosives.
After the siege of Leningrad ended, the United States forces took over Rome. Italian leader Caesar Augustus has released a tape about his feelings on the American invasion. Never mind what I was saying earlier, my apologies. Italian leader Benito Mussolini has released a tape about his feelings on the United States invasion of his capital city.
T'es bon le papouche avant les cabolades, vas-y voir les niveaux là. Si, base déjà comme beple baple bou et ne bêche ne bas et l'amour c'est bas et mamma mia.
Are you zooming in? I told you, stop zooming in.
Stop zooming in!
Thanks. Okay. Done. 2 days later, on June 6th, Operation Overlord began in full throttle. American and Allied forces reached the beaches of Normandy against heavy opposition, and many of the paratroopers who were parachuted into enemy lines missed their mark, but overall, opposition proved to be a success, marking America's commitment to the defeat of Hitler. We now cut to our European correspondent, Ali Mania, and it's a stupid name.
People dying.
Welcome back. We're sorry for the change of setting, but we had some issues back at the studio, and we figured since the high levels of stress of our job, it would be appropriate for us to come and enjoy the outside. Now, Alex, I know we don't have our teleprompter here today, so I'm telling you right now, now's your time to say your stereotypical comment about the weather.
Thanks, Pat. It's a gorgeous day here in the Lone Star State in the winter. It's nothing like Indiana.
That was good. Time to cut you off. Alright, in September of this year, the Allies launched Operation Market Garden on Belgium. The goal was to take several bridges to inhibit the movement of German armored divisions. Ultimately, it was a complete and utter failure, but in the beginning it started to look successful. as the Allies captured many bridges and began to actually halt the movement of the German army. However, upon its failure, I don't know what my cameraman's doing, but whatever. I'm the news guy. I just shut up and take it. Anyways, after this, the Germans decided to launch an offensive in response to the Allies' Operation Market Garden. This is commonly known as the Battle of the Bulge. It actually started only about 15 days ago. Recently, the Battle of Bastogne ended on December 27th. This was a very important battle, where the Germans attempted to take a crossroads town, very small, in the middle of the mountains. However, General George Patton's Third Army eventually reinforced the Allies defending this town and pushed back the Germans. The Battle of the Bulge is still going on to this day. We do not know when it will end, but it is one of the largest and most important battles of this war.
It was a day not unlike this one today, where the Allied forces pushed back the German siege on Bastogne. This is hallowed ground here. The German line is just ahead. Right here is where the German line was, where the American forces pushed back the Germans. As you can see, it's very desolate here. It's very cold.
That's why we're staying in the truck.
Due to security reasons, we couldn't stay very long here, so we had to book it out of here because the German forces were kind of near.
It's so bad out here. Even though they're making the war correspondents fight. What are you doing? Why are you fighting?
We'd like to say thanks to our war correspondent Rambo for that very heartfelt moment. And we'd now like to take the time to honor those 400 people who died in the...
It's 389. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Do you want to continue this?
It's 389.
Do you want to finish this?
Fine.
Well, why do you feel the need to correct me all the time?
It's 389.
I'd like to say thanks to our war correspondent Rambo for that very heartfelt... You okay there?
I'm good.
Okay. But we now like to turn and examine a very overlooked domestic event where 400 people died in a hurricane.
It was 300.
It was 389.
It was.
You have to correct me every freaking time.
Yes. 389.
Do you want to continue
Yes.
this?
Keep quiet over there in your little chair.
I will.
I'm sorry for my associate here. He's a little... Never mind. Yes, 389 people died in a hurricane that tore through New England. As my slightly inept associate here mentioned earlier, it was very much overlooked due to the war that was going on. However, it was a very important event, and it was deadly to the American public, and it destroyed many families and took many people's lives. In memory of the hurricane victims in New England, the 389 who died, we have prepared a short musical exposition for you. Now, I'm not really supposed to know about this. There's this thing called the Manhattan Project. It has to do with something that goes boom really big. And I think it's important. But as I'm not supposed to know about it, this will probably be my last broadcast. So, yeah. It was nice knowing you. Due to time restrictions, I'm sorry to say we're going to have to cut our broadcast short. I've got places to go and people to see, so goodbye.